Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Cover to Cover. You're here with Mo
and Morgan.
And today we want to talk about the top 10 audiobooks that you should get for your work commute. The Glass Castle, The Year That Changed Literature, and so much more. But first, we have to talk to you guys about a little inspiration that we are finding. So, many of our favorite novels are inspired by real-life people or events, and today we need to tell you about one.
Over 150 years ago, a mathematician named Lewis Carroll, whose original name was Charles Dodgson, went on a boat trip with his friends, the Lindells. Now, they ported on a bank to have an afternoon tea party, and Carroll was designated as the person to entertain the children. Don't you love it when you're that person?
Yes.
So he took inspiration from the most imaginative child there was, Alice Lindell. He sat them down at the tea party and told them all a story about a little girl named Alice and her adventures underground. Alice was so enthralled that she insisted he write her story. So he did.
And, of course, the rest is history, and Alice is forever remembered in our hearts and our minds as an adventuresome little girl. And I love that the inspiration for the story came from a legitimate actual tea party. And that's like my favorite part of Alice in Wonderland. So he took this super normal, basic event that was happening, and he twisted it to all this amazing, crazy, fanciful stuff, which is exactly what you do for children, right?
Right.
You take something they know and you make it really cool.
Yeah.
And just the fact that she was a real girl was really inspirational. And as a writer, gives you a lot of hope that you can take any old boring thing and make it super cool.
My husband does this all the time. He teaches guitar lessons, and so he has some kids that he'll just make up songs for them.
Aww.
One was about how her sister doesn't like to swim, and she swims like a cat. I think we can turn that into a book.
Easily. It would have a musical accompaniment, and it sounds awesome.
The recent one, because he plays these songs for me, is about how she loves Pop Rocks. So,
like the candy?
Yeah, the candy. So anyone can do it. You can write some stories, and maybe someday it'll be like Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, well, we can only hope. All right, well, for all you long-distance commuters out there, we know that audiobooks are a must-have, and you could get through so many books on your TBR list through the comfort of your radio or your headphones, depending on what you do for your work travels.
Audible has a top 10 list out there right now detailing the best ones to check out. So today, we're going to give you some pro tips. First, they recommend that you check out The Dark Tower by Stephen King if you want some sci-fi Western fantasy crossover.
Or check out Not Alone by Craig A. Falconer if you need just a little alien cover-up in your life.
Or check out Everything You Told Me by Lucy Dawson if you need a psychological thriller that will have you biting your nails before work.
Or you could also check out The Cold Dish, a Walt Longmire mystery by Craig Johnson if you want to go adventure through a mystery, you know, like a pro.
Or, here's another one. Listen in on Ernest Cline's Ready Player One if you want to enjoy a post-apocalyptic story that takes you through your favorite video game.
Or you can always check out A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin for all of those needing an epic fantasy series to sustain them for many hours of work commute.
Or guys, how about Monster Hunter Siege by Larry Correia and for beast, drama, magic, and everything in between.
Yeah. Also, you could check out Wild Seed by Octavia Butler for a tale of immortals following their path of destiny.
Or, no surprise here, you can always check out Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by our favorite J.K. Rowling, and it'll provide you some magic and friendship goals to sustain you for your day.
And, of course, last but not least, you can check out It by Stephen King if you want to find yourself mistrusting everyone that you meet and fleeing from dark, isolated places.
Nope.
Not probably a great way to start your commute.
No.
So out of that list, the book that I would most want to listen to as an audiobook is Ready Player One because it's narrated by Will Wheaton, who is a huge fanboy and somebody that I have loved for a very long time. And also, that's a really fun book because it's very post-apocalyptic and can kind of get you excited about the adventure that they're going on. I think that's a great way to start your day.
I think so, too. I'm thinking about which one I'm going to listen to on some of my longer travels. Like over Thanksgiving, I'll be traveling from Texas to Kentucky, so I don't know, guys. If you've listened to any of those, let me know which one will, number one, keep me entertained.
Yeah.
Number two, keep me awake.
I think it might be a great one to keep you awake. You will never sleep again.
No, I think
Never.
I will be afraid to get out of the car.
Yeah.
I'll make my husband
You're not
pump
going to
all
stop
the
for
gas.
gas.
Yeah. He'll have to pump the gas. He'll have to walk with me if it's late at night, go into the gas station or whatever. So, no, that one is not on my list because I do not like scary things.
Well, audiobooks are definitely a good idea while you're traveling, and they would be a good idea for while you're working out as well. But some of us just prefer the touch of a page. So we have a video short for you guys today illustrating just how some readers enjoy working out. So enjoy.
An abrupt sound startled him. Somewhere, off in the blackness, someone had fired a gun 3 times. He knew his pursuant was coming. It seemed to Rainford that the general was coming with unusual swiftness. Then he felt an impulse to cry out with joy, for he heard the sharp crackle of the breaking branches as the cover of the pit gave way. He heard the sharp screams as the pointed stakes found their mark. He leaped up from his place of concealment, then he cowered back. 3 feet from the pit, a man was standing, with an electronic torch in his hand.
Done well, Rainsford. Your Burmese tiger pit has claimed one of my best dogs. Again, you scold.
They would be on him any minute now. But he saw in the shadowed valley that General Zar was still on his feet. Ever nearer drew the hounds. He reached it. It was the shore of the sea. 20 feet below him, the sea rumbled. He leaped far out into the sea. When the general and his pack reached the place by the sea, the Cossack stopped. He shrugged his shoulders, then sat down and hummed a bit from Madame Butterfly. At 10, he went up to the bedroom. He went to the window and looked down at the courtyard and he called,
Ha! Better luck another time!
Then he switched on the light. A man who had been hiding in the curtains of the bed was standing there.
Rainsford, how in God's name did you get there?
Swam. I finally figured they're walking through the jungle.
I congratulate you. You have won the game.
I'm still a step big. Get ready, General Zara.
I see. Splendid. One of us is to furnish a repast for the hounds. The other will sleep in this very excellent bed. On guard, Rainsford!
He had never slept in a better bed.
We hope that you guys enjoyed Morgan trying to read The Most Dangerous Game, which can apparently be a very dangerous read.
Yes.
And another book that you can read in really weird situations if you choose to is Jeanette Wall's The Glass Castle. It hit shelves in 2005, but is getting hype right now for its movie adaptation, which just opened over the weekend. And the author is in a really interesting situation, as the story is based on her personal life, and now she is putting her story in the hands of other actors and screenwriters.
It must be so strange to see an actress cast to play you out and live out your life, the good and the bad, on the big screen. Walls recently sat down and did an interview about how that must have felt for her. She said that the movie lived in limbo for many years as it has been optioned, but was challenging to adapt. She put her faith in Gil Netters, who produced Life of Pi. She said if he couldn't make a movie about a tiger, if he could make a movie about a tiger living on a boat, he could probably understand her family well enough and do a great job.
I love that.
Yeah.
Glass Castle chronicles Wall's eccentric and poverty-stricken upbringing with her family. And the movie did come out over the weekend, and while reviews are coming in extremely mixed, the book is still getting excellent reviews. So if you need a dysfunctional family in your life besides your own, check out The Glass Castle. And I love this concept of how does it feel as a writer to have an actress cast to portray you? And they cast Brie Larson for her, which is great. I'm sure that's, she is an Academy Award-winning actress. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I really like this story. The lady who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, she was cast by Julia Roberts to play her, and her former husband was cast by an attractive man as well. And so I heard an interview with her, and they were like, how does it feel for Julia Roberts to like portray you on film? And she was like, yes, that's what I look like, Julia Roberts. We're the same. So that's a really fun place to be, I think.
I don't know if I could watch it.
Yeah, it must be so weird. But I read in an interview that she said that she enjoys watching it played out because even though it's dysfunctional and crazy, it's this portrayal of her family, and so it brings a piece of something she loves to life, so she enjoys it. But I'm right there with you. I don't know that I could do it.
Yeah.
It'd be so weird. Well, another book that you guys can add to your TBR list is a forthcoming novel for all the intellectual readers out there. Bill Goldstein has written a book called The World Broke in Two that chronicles the year 1922, which he dubs the year that changed literature.
Goldstein chronicles the life and work of Virginia Woolf, T.S. Eliot, D.H. Lawrence, and E.M. Foster. The snapshot into history gives the readers a lot to think about. What was shifting in literature, and how were these popular authors dealing with it?
Right. So 1922 was a big year for all those authors as far as works that they were, like, the works they were working on, and also the time and history. So World War I ended in, like, 1914. And so after that, there's this huge shift of culture, especially for women, which is really pivotal for Virginia Woolf. So it's kind of just this time when they're dealing with those transitions, and then of course their own personal transitions, and working on these really pivotal novels that we get later in life.
I wonder what historians are going to say about our time right now in 20, 40, 60, 80 years from now, and what's coming out in literature.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting. And we talked on our last episode about the rise of pop culture in literature, and so that'll help date this kind of time frame of literature as well. In 40 years, we're going to be able to look back and say, hey, this is what was going on, and that's how it shaped literature.
Yeah.
So that's what this book is all about.
Very cool.
And with the changes in literature over time, there will be undoubtedly new genres emerging for sure. And there's one right now that's emerged that's gaining lots of attention, known as urban fiction or street literature. It was born behind bars and is written by convicts serving sentences. North Carolina and other states have been in the news recently with stories detailing their attempts to suppress inmates' ability to produce these books, and are resonating with many people around the globe. Victor L. Martin has been to court over his issues with the North Carolina prison system, and courts have ruled in his favor, citing his First Amendment rights.
Martin has said his writings have become a mental escape for him. It's also a way for inmates to face their demons and to live out their dreams. In one of Martin's novels, his main character ended up meeting his father, living out a fantasy that Martin was not and will not be able to. There's also a 2011 documentary called Behind These Books, detailing the growth of this genre.
So I think this genre is really interesting, and I can see how it's controversial, right? I understand when people are unsure about the content of the works and whether or not it should be put out there. But I read this really cool story that in the Chicago Public Library system, they've seen astronomical growth and how many young people come in to check out books based on this urban literature, because they can relate to it. It's accessible to their life and the things that they know, and it gives them something to strive for, right? Because these convicts are saying, you know, they don't want to be where they're at, but they've done a lot of things to put them in a certain place, and so this gives them an escape and something else to look forward to. So maybe it's a positive thing.
Yeah. I'm just, well, first, let us know in the comments, have any of you read any of these books? Because I haven't. And
Me either.
I'm just a little shocked about North Carolina. That's where I grew up, but North Carolina has been on the news quite a bit for other things. We don't want to get political here, but I'm just like, really? But I don't know what's in the books because I haven't read them.
Yeah.
But I could just see this, like kids in Chicago, kids across the world, to sit here and read a book by someone who's in prison and learn from it.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
There's definitely something to be gained from that. And we talked recently about providing literature to inmates to read and how that might help them on the road to recovery. So honestly, it just seems like this is one more great outlet. Writing can be really rehabilitative for all kinds of people.
And just so you know, Mo shared with me this morning, because this was the first time hearing this story, but when inmates do this, their families get any profits from the books. They don't.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's an interesting way to be able to provide for your family when
Yeah, absolutely.
you're behind bars and you are doing your time, but it's a way for an inmate to rehabilitate himself and to do something with his life, or her life.
Yeah. So that's great. Well, we're going to go head over to Tiffany and see what recommendations she has for us today, because she loves to do that. Tiffany, what's on your nightstand?
Good morning, everyone. I've got another great book for your nightstand. This one is called Dragon Teeth by Michael Crichton. And Michael Crichton remains the only author to have a #1 book, movie, and TV series come out in 1 year. I remember him for his Jurassic Park movie. A lot of people think that the crowning jewel of his writing career was ER. But regardless, Crichton had a phenomenal writing career. After his death in 2008, they've had 3 books come out. This is the 3rd one. The script was written in the 70s, and it's about the Bone Wars, which is about the fossil hunting that takes place in the Wild West of late 1800s North America. So the story takes place, it starts out in New York at Yale, and William Johnson has just wrecked his friend's yacht carelessly. He didn't ask for permission to borrow it, wrecked it, and now he's got to come up with the funds to pay for it, fix it. His dad happens to be a shipbuilder, so they get it together. And meanwhile, the friend bets him $1,000 that he will not go on this trip out west to dig up bones with crazy Professor Marsh. So he's got to do it. He has no other choice but to go up to Professor Marsh and ask him, hey, I've got to go on this trip with you. But Professor Marsh isn't having it. He turns him away at first. Johnson is like, no, I've got to come on this trip. Professor Marsh is like, no, you've got to go away. You weren't invited, you didn't apply on time, the ad was several weeks old, unless you're a photographer. So Johnson says, oh, I happen to be a photographer, and it works out favorably for both parties. So Johnson leaves and takes a couple classes worth of photography. Again, this is the late 1800s, so they're using a French technique. It's slow, it's painful, he finally nails it. He's started to gather things for this expedition out west to go dig up the dinosaur teeth. And the last thing that he's got to do is run out to Philadelphia to ask permission from his family. So he gets out to Philadelphia. This is the time in history when Edison is talking about putting lights in the street lamps. The political climate is that Ulysses S. Grant is running for presidency, and his mom isn't thrilled about him running off to Wyoming Territory during the Indian Wars. His dad's on board with it, so he gets the permission he needs. He goes back out, joins the expedition, they get to Wyoming Territory, and Professor Marsh gets this idea in his head that his student, Johnson, is spying, and he's with Marsh's nemesis. So Marsh leaves the kid hanging. So there's a Yale student with a 6-shooter in the wild, wild west. There's buffalo stampedes. Wyatt Earp makes an appearance. You can get the sense that this is a really cool historical fiction book. I absolutely loved it. So I'm going to leave you hanging so that you want to read the book and find out what happens. Does Johnson continue his journey? Does he end up dead or alive? It's a great read. I hope you will love it, and I hope that you will get Dragon Teeth in our sale today on flash sale for just 99 cents after the show.
Thank you, Tiffany. We will definitely have to check out Dragon Teeth. And though our TBR list continues to grow, we sometimes find that our shopping list grows while we're looking at literature. There is no shortage of clothes and accessories to represent your book love, and there is a whole new Harry Potter line out that we can spend our money on.
The company called Box Lunch has launched a Back to Hogwarts line, so you can get clothes, coffee mugs, accessories, and more featuring your favorite Harry Potter details.
Okay, so first of all, shut up and take my money. I am so obsessed with this. Everybody has to go to Box Lunch and pick out all of your favorite gear. And it's so smart because it's this back to school line, right? And so back to school is all in season right now. And a lot of people gear up and buy lots of new clothes and accessories and stuff. And if I was doing that, which I'm not, but if I was, I would be purchasing all of these things.
So what's the number one thing you would get?
I really like their shirts because a lot of times shirts that are geared towards literature are like either cheesy or kind of low quality, but they have a lot of just normal shirts that you would wear in your everyday life that just happen to have inflections of Harry Potter stuff. So you can get just like a collared white shirt with like a little snitch embroidered on it or something like that. So it's just like kind of low key representing your love of Harry Potter, which is what I want to do all day, every day.
All right. Well, let us know in the comments if you have some good ways to represent your favorite literature, and let us know what Hogwarts house you're in, and if you know. And like always, share this post, and we will send you a free t-shirt. Just send us a message and tell us your size, your mailing address, and your preferred style. We have both V-neck and crew neck options. And don't forget, flash sale! Yay. Get your copy of Dragon Teeth for 99 cents for 19 minutes after the show. That will be in the comment section of this episode.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for joining us today. Yep. We hope that you have a great week. I'm Mo.
And I'm Morgan.
And we will be back on Wednesday, August 16th at 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time. Until then, keep reading, writing, and being awesome. I know we will. Bye. Bye.